Good afternoon. We are live from Council Chamber.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I would like to call this meeting to order. At this time, I would like to acknowledge that we meet on the traditional land of Treaty 6 territory and Métis homeland, and acknowledge the diverse indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territory for centuries, such as Cree, Dene, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, the Kurasu, as well Métis and Inuit, and now settlers from around the world. Do a roll call of council members. Councillor Wright.
Good afternoon.
Councillor Knack.
Good afternoon.
Councillor Principe.
Hello.
Councillor Stevenson.
Good afternoon.
Councillor Paquette.
Good afternoon.
Councillor Tang.
Hello.
Councillor Hamilton.
Hello.
Councillor Rutherford.
Hello.
Councillor Salvador.
Good afternoon.
Councillor Cartmel.
Good afternoon.
Councillor Rice.
Good afternoon.
And Councillor Jans.
Good afternoon.
All right, so everyone is here. Adoption of the agenda. Councillor Hamilton, you have the copy with the additions?
Yeah, I'll move that the May 10th, 2023 City Council non-regular meeting agenda be adopted with the following changes. The addition of item 5.1, intergovernmental update, attachment 5, and a replacement report on item 5.1, intergovernmental update, communications and engagement report.
Okay. I need a seconder.
Second.
Second by Councillor Rice. So please vote.
In favor.
Thank you, Councillor Jans. Sorry, was that a yes from Councillor Rice?
Yeah.
Councillor Paquette, is the vote showing up for you? We just don't have yours.
It isn't, but I am a yes. I'll just restart.
Thank you. We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Any protocol items? Seeing none. And select items for debate. There's only one to be selected. Councillor Tang, you want to do that?
Happy to. I'd like to select 5.1.
Okay,
Actually, I believe,
and 7.
And 7.1.
Sorry, there's two interrelated here. 7.1, 5.1 and 7.1. Okay, need a seconder?
second.
Councillor Wright, thank you. Please vote.
Mayor, there's no vote. All the
Wait,
reports
sorry,
have been
point of
selected.
What I'm confused? Oh, yeah, right. Why I'm confused? Oh, yeah, we just selected them, yeah. Okay. That's why I confused, because Councillor Wright seconded them. My automatic brain went to vote. Here you go. All right. Huh? Autopilot. Here you go. Okay, both items have been selected, and we don't have no votes on the reports not selected for debate. Any requests to speak? None. Request for specific time on agenda? None. Vote on bylaws not selected for debate? None. And reports to be dealt with at a different meeting? None. Request to reschedule reports? None. Public reports, 5.1. We'll go to our city manager for a presentation and our administration. Go ahead, please.
Perfect, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Ryan Barkway. I'm the Acting Deputy City Manager of Communications and Engagement. With me today is Rob Klatchuk, our Branch Manager of Relationships and Customer Access, and Yatunde Oke, our Director of Intergovernmental Affairs. Today we are presenting 3 City of Edmonton draft resolutions for your approval to advance to the Alberta Municipalities Convention taking place here in Edmonton from September 27th through 29th, 2023. The 3 resolutions are on the topics of affordable housing, downtown revitalization, and climate resilience. Combined, they all advance the Connect Edmonton goals of healthy city, urban places, regional prosperity, and climate resilience. In the interest of meeting AB Muni's May 31st deadline, we have confirmed support from other municipalities for seconding these 3 resolutions. Subject to your approval of the draft resolutions, we will continue the steps to receive formal approval from their respective councils. There are 2 requests for the City of Edmonton to second resolutions from other municipalities. The town of Drayton Valley requests your support for their resolution on post-traumatic stress disorder coverage for community peace officers under the Workers' Compensation Act. This resolution was passed by their council in January. The City of Calgary requests your support to second their resolution on amendments to the Traffic Safety Act related to e-scooters. This resolution was just passed by Calgary City Council yesterday, and this morning it was added to this council report as Attachment 5. Administration is recommending council support as many municipalities will benefit from joint advocacy to the provincial government on these topics. We're ready to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. So questions, colleagues? All right, Councillor Tang, you want to go first, or Councillor Knack, because these are going to Alberta Munis for the resolutions?
I don't have any questions on, actually, maybe I do have one question. On the one, first of all, great, I'm so happy to see a number of resolutions coming forward, and I think these are all great initiatives, and I appreciate lots of input from various people. On the one from Drayton Valley, absolutely, I think it's, in my opinion, it's very worthwhile resolution. I was curious about kind of relevance to, are our City of Edmonton peace officers subject to the same kind of parameters as outlined in this resolution, or given that they're CSU or a different collective agreement, I'm just curious about, is it the same treatment or response from the workers' compensation perspective?
Hi there. Yes, thanks very much for the question. And certainly the city's peace officers, regardless of their transit peace officers, park rangers, et cetera, would fall under this category of community peace officer, because that's the official title. Community safety peace officer is the official title under the provincial act.
Right, and then in the event of if people are seeking post-traumatic, support, besides, I feel like I don't really know the technical term for all this, but if there, besides WCB, the city also has benefits and those kinds of packages to support them as well. And then is it the case in the smaller municipality where they may not have that kind of fulsome support?
Yeah, I would say the support varies by municipality across the province. I think our support is in place. What this does is change the WCB coverage, much akin to what was done with firefighters several years ago on several fronts, including some of the carcinogenics that were causing cancer. So, we really support this because it really sets things right for WCB in terms of setting the right precedent across the entire province and for everybody, no matter what municipality they come from. But in terms of sort of day-to-day supports, we certainly have those kinds of things in place for all of our employees.
That's really helpful. Anyways, this is a great initiative. I'm very happy with all of these. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tang. Before I go to Councillor Principe, Councillor Knack, you have anything to say on the three resolutions going to Alberta Muni?
No, thank you. Councillor Tang covered it all, so no problem at all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Principe, go ahead, please.
Sorry, given that I have 2 minutes left, do you want me to move them now, or since
Yeah,
we're in,
actually, you're right, we need a motion
So
on
maybe
the
I should move
floor.
them
Yeah,
first.
right.
Apologies.
Yeah, we need a motion on the floor, yeah. Yeah, go ahead, can you move them, please?
Yeah, well, sorry. I'd like to move that the draft resolutions in attachments 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of the May 10th, 2023 Communications and Engagement Report CE 01810 be approved for advancement to Alberta municipalities for member consideration at the 2023 Annual Convention.
Okay. Councillor Knack?
Second.
Thank you. All right, sorry. Thank you for flagging that, Councillor Tang, because we needed a motion on the floor at council. Okay, Councillor Principe, go ahead, please. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I am concerned with one of the resolutions, that being the one for affordable housing. Just the second point, where it's to amend provincial legislation to exempt all nonprofit affordable housing providers from both municipal and education tax. I'm concerned because there might be an accountability issue there, in my opinion, a possibility of it. And I am concerned with just the second part of this resolution. So I'm not sure how to proceed with this, because I know the motion is already on the floor. So the motion as it's stated here, I would not be able to support, simply because of that one little portion of the resolution.
Yeah, maybe we can go to administration for some clarification on the exemption for from the act.
I'm wondering if either Kate Watt or Stacey Gallatley might be on the line.
I'm on the line, Kate Watt from Assessment and Taxation.
Yeah, Kate, can you answer that question from Councillor Principe, please?
If I understand Councillor Principe correctly, she has some concerns about the education tax portion of the resolution, but perhaps if I could ask Councillor Principe to ask again what her concern is.
My concern is that I'm not comfortable with the resolution being that provincial legislation exempt all nonprofit housing providers from both municipal and education tax. I'm just not, and I don't know if that's really a question to you or if it's a question to the city clerk. I'm not comfortable supporting this motion the way it's stated because of this portion of the resolution.
Well, maybe if I can just provide a little bit of background on what that is.
Sure.
We have had in front of council a number of conversations about affordable housing and strategies around how we can help affordable housing providers. We have now in place an affordable housing tax grant back for the municipal portion of taxes. This would actually achieve what I understood and what we received direction from council over the number of conversations to be the direction that council would like us to adopt with the provincial government, which is looking for an actual change to the provincial legislation to make it clear that affordable housing, however so defined, should be recognized as a charitable and benevolent use or should be made exempt under other provisions. To be clear, there are some forms of affordable housing that are exempt from property taxation, both municipal and provincial. What we would be asking for through this resolution is that that exemption is made whole for all affordable housing providers, not just the ones currently specified within the legislation as it stands.
Yeah, and that is my concern with the wording of this, so that is where my issue lies. Also, I'll bring this up. Maybe you can explain this to me. On the second portion of the sentence, it says, and establish a clear definition to indicate which properties will qualify for the exemption. That sounds like it's contradicting the first part of the sentence.
Well, the issue there, Councillor, is that there is no definition within the legislation as it stands about what is meant by affordable housing. So what tax assessors are left to do is interpret the legislation in a very vague way to try to tease out where the government wanted support to be provided to these institutions in terms of tax exemption. As your city assessor, I would say that it is not clear. The legislature's intention is unclear, and it is very difficult both for myself and my team and for all assessors around the province to understand what the government of Alberta actually wants us to do in terms of tax treatment in this space.
Okay, thank you. My time's up.
Thank you. And Councillor Principe, if you are still concerned about that, I think what you can do is move an amendment to take that part 2 out of the recommendation, right? So think about that as we go through the.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, I was going to ask for a point of information, but if Councillor Principe is actually going to expand on it, I don't need that. But Councillor Principe, do you, Mr. Mayor, I'm just wondering if Councillor Principe is going to make that motion, or should I make a point of information to ask for clarity on her concern?
Why, I think let's go through the questions. Maybe those questions could clarify some of the concerns Councillor Principe have, right? If she still does, then she'll make an amendment. At that time, you can ask that, Councillor Paquette, okay?
Perfect. I appreciate it. I just want to make sure that I understand.
Yeah, got it.
Thank
okay.
you.
Councillor Stevenson, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe just.
Oh, sorry, before you go, I want to acknowledge we have with us today students from Our Lady of the Prairie, grade 6 class, with the teacher S. Brunel, and they are from Ward Spamitapi. Councillor Wright is your council representative. Thank you so much for joining us. Lovely to see you all. You're the students that we just recently saw in the hallway, right? Yeah, okay, cool. Right on. Are you having fun? Are you enjoying?
That's pretty quiet.
Yeah, you're a pretty quiet group.
And there's a second classer of grade 5, 6 students, same school.
They're coming a little later. Oh, 5, 6 as well. Okay, well, grade 5 and grade 6. Thank you for joining us. Stick around as long as you want, okay? All right, cool. All right, now Councillor Stevenson, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. Just to follow up on that thread, we recently introduced a tax grant program for affordable housing providers in Edmonton. Is that correct?
Yes, we did, Councillor Stevenson.
Okay, and so, you know, effectively right now, our current city policy is that, you know, all nonprofit affordable housing providers are eligible to apply for that tax exemption. So that's not necessarily a new sort of looking at all. That's not particularly new in terms of our current practice.
Correct. The one clarification I would make is that there are restrictions on the affordable housing providers that can seek this tax back program, which I would liken in terms of the resolution that you're debating to be the clarification on the definition of affordable housing. So when we created that grant program, we looked at what we considered to be affordable housing and worked really hard to make sure that we were defining it in a way that we could separate true affordable housing, charitable and benevolent purposes from other forms of housing that may or may not be lower income housing.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that my memory of that solution was that it came down to having an affordable housing agreement with the city of Edmonton. Is that one of the ways that we've been able to, as Councillor Principe was speaking about, sort of create that accountability to ensure that tax relief is going to the charitable and benevolent purposes that we want it to be?
Either the City of Edmonton or another order of government. I see Crystal Kajena is also on the line. She may have more information about that application process.
Sorry, Councillor Stevenson, could you repeat that question?
No, just wanting to just sort of identify that we do have an accountability mechanism in place to ensure that people who are maybe not providing charitable or benevolent forms of affordable housing are benefiting from a tax rebate.
That's correct. That's correct. We have a thorough and exhaustive application process that is a joint process that we've developed between my team and Ms. Watt's team that looks at making sure that there's a legal agreement in place with anybody that's pursuing the tax exemption to be providing affordable housing, and that one order of government is holding them accountable for that ongoing requirement to provide affordable housing through that legal agreement. Also, in addition, the program is only open to nonprofit housing providers who are constituted for the sole purpose of providing affordable housing to low-income members of society.
Great. Well, and so I think there's sort of what I understand the purpose of this resolution is that our current system that we've set up has two key disadvantages. One is that we don't have the nonprofit affordable housing providers do not get relief from the provincial education tax. That's correct. So that's the intent is, we have our current practice, we have rigorous accountability mechanisms in place, but these providers still aren't benefiting from a full tax relief. And then I think the other piece too is just looking to reduce. I think it's really well pointed out in the resolution, just the red tape that this creates for affordable housing providers. So Ms. Watt, other organizations that fall under COPTR, they have an automatic exemption, I believe. I don't think they have to apply in the same way that they're having to apply for this grant program. Is that? And so by clarifying COPTR, we remove that red tape and just remove some of that barrier.
That's not strictly true, Councillor Stevenson. Any entity that is looking for a tax exemption under COPTR must apply every year. There are other forms of tax exemption. This is what I mean when I allude to the confusion surrounding property tax exemptions and governance within this province. So if there are other legislative exemptions, such as under the Municipal Government Act itself, there is no application process for that. So I would like to say that our grant program was designed to be as administratively efficient for housing providers as it can be. But I would also say that the lack of participation on the provincial side is a detriment to our housing provider folks, and it also creates a disadvantage for Edmontonians vis-a-vis affordable housing providers within the rest of the province. So a desire to have clarity for the entire system would be why, as an assessor, I would like to see this. But that is outside of what council's role is here in terms of your own desires for the municipality.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
I do believe there is a red tape reduction aspect of this too, because there's an application either way, but there's also 2 transactions that are happening now that could be eliminated if we go to this system. So.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Wright?
Thank you very much. Ms. Watt, I know when I started learning about all these exemptions and that, wasn't there also something in the MGA that there was specific organizations that wouldn't be able, that wouldn't qualify because they were, and I'm thinking, was it Métis Housing?
Yes, you're right. Like under the community organization property tax exemption regulation, which is the one I mean when I refer to COPTA, not-for-profits are exempt from taxation under certain conditions. And one of those conditions is that they do not discriminate by race, gender, or any other demographic criteria. I think the intent of that legislation was pure, but it also has a negative effect sometimes when we may want to be providing assistance and tax exemptions to groups that are typically under-provided for historically. There is another large challenge for not-for-profit housing providers within the current legislation, in that you're prevented from receiving the exemption if you charge a minor fee, and if you do not make the property available to all citizens. So an affordable housing provider, in charging any amount of rent, becomes not qualified for this exemption. And also the fact that you sort of are within an affordable housing agreement providing the right to this property to an individual or a group of individuals, you fail on that second piece. So it's just that our legislation does not adequately address the circumstances of affordable housing, and there isn't really a consistency within other places where exemptions do occur in the legislation.
Okay, thank you very much for clarifying that for me. And right now we help out these nonprofits with exemptions, not grants, right?
I believe we do both. From the taxation side, not-for-profits that qualify under COPTA are exempt under COPTA, so we do help them out by providing the exemption. That is provincially, like we administer that on behalf of the province, so it's actually not within the municipal realm. That's part of my role as the city's assessor to administer assessment for the entire municipality on behalf of the province. That's where those powers come from.
Okay, and then on the grant side for the others, I'm just thinking we had our audit report on grants and subsidies and that, and so by doing it this way and providing them all as exemptions, then that would reduce the amount of grants that we're handing out?
It certainly would. What it would do is reduce the size of our assessment base. So we would have a smaller base to distribute the tax burden amongst. But that is the effect. There wouldn't be a reporting effect beyond what we use already to report our exemptions to the provincial government. I can't speak to other forms of grants because that's not something Assessment and Taxation administers, but maybe somebody else on the line can.
So I think maybe I would just, with respect to your comment about grants versus exemption. Yeah. So Kate covered that. I think part of the feedback at audit committee was when you give a grant, you should evaluate the program as a whole. So if you were to continue to do affordable housing as a grant, I think you then are obligated to determine whether that grant is actually achieving the intended outcomes.
Of providing housing at an affordable cost. Yeah, okay. And then, oh, I did have another one that just escaped me. Oh, I'll have to leave it. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Paquette.
Yeah, thank you. Those are excellent questions. I just want to pick up there in case I missed some things, which would not be unusual. So what I'm not clear on is, with the example that Councillor Wright was giving with Métis Housing, is that us or is that the province?
It is us administering the legislation given to us by the province. So the decision would be with the province. The administration of that would be with us.
Okay. And so what are the steps because this probably, things are a lot more complex these days, I think, than when that legislation was put forward. So what can we do to advocate for this? I mean, is basically just write a letter and to talk to MLAs and ministers, or, I mean,
Perhaps that would be a question for the city manager, but I would suggest that one thing you could do is allow this resolution to go forward to Alberta municipalities.
and then let the province sort that out.
Yeah,
if they bother to sort it out.
and I would just add, Councillor, that if we get the resolution done, that's a good first step. And if it's accepted and put on the table and approved by Alberta municipalities in the fall, that gives us all sorts of room to not just advocate by ourselves for that change, but with all the municipalities. So I think it's a good step regardless, and it really paves the way for some collective advocacy on that particular issue that you mentioned.
Okay, right, because the irony is not lost on any of us that we're really looking for some targeted housing. We've got a provider, and yet they can't fit through the hoops. Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Paquette. Thank you. Councillor Salvador, can you take a chair? I just need quick clarification. Councillor Salvador?
Yes, I have the chair.
Got it. Thank you. So, under the provincial legislation, COPTER, if property is exempted, yes, they have to apply for that exemption every year, if I understand, Kate. But if they're exempted, then that property is exempted both for the municipal portion as well as the education portion, right?
That's correct.
Okay. But because some of the properties were not exempted under COPTER, we created a grant funding, but that grant funding only covers the equivalent of what they would pay to us for municipal portion of the property taxes, right?
That's correct, yes.
And they still have to pay their share of the provincial property taxes to the province, right? Or the
Correct.
education. Okay. So the whole purpose of having number 2 in the resolution is to create consistency that all affordable housing providers, whether they're exempted under COPTER or exempted under us, should be exempted from both taxes, provincial and municipal.
That would be part of the desire, I believe, yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, that's just need clarification on that. Okay, good. All right, so I will move the second round.
Second?
Please vote for a second round.
Oriana, yes. My e-scribe died.
Thank you, Councillor Knack.
In favor.
Thank you, Councillor Jans. I believe Councillor Hamilton indicated she had to step away.
Yeah,
Can I
she
just
has.
check she's not on?
Councillor Hamilton? Then she sent a note that she has to step away for other council business.
We
right?
will
Yeah.
mark absent for that, and we have all the votes.
Okay,
Please display the vote. That is carried, and I'll return the chair.
Okay, and I know I'll take the chair back. Okay, all right, Councillor Principe, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the discussion that we've had so far today, a lot of it has been about what Edmonton is doing. But is it not my understanding that this is for all municipalities across Alberta, not specifically Edmonton, these resolutions?
These resolutions are going forward to a body of stakeholders that represents Alberta municipalities, typically urban municipalities, but also now expanded to all municipalities. And this issue affects all municipalities that have affordable housing within their boundaries. And there is inequitable treatment for these types of properties across the province. One thing I can say is that we have not found a municipality that exempts affordable housing because of affordable housing. So there is a consistency amongst the assessors in the province that this is an area that where legislation needs to change. and we're all dealing with it slightly differently. A change at the provincial legislative level would level set and create an equal playing field for all of us.
Okay. Yeah. I still, I'm a little bit more comfortable with this now after our discussion, but I still am uneasy with this, and I would be more comfortable taking this out. I would like to make an amendment to take that portion out of the resolution.
Okay, so, okay. I'll seek guidance from the clerk. It'll be attachment 2, right? And taking out part 2 out of the attachment 2, right? In the original motion?
Yes, so what I would suggest is that we separate them out for voting purposes.
Okay.
And then that amendment can be made on that attachment 2.
Okay.
But then also, Mr. Mayor, I would like to ask that we could vote on the resolutions separately so that I can support all the other resolutions, please.
Yeah, I think that's what will happen, that we will separate all 3 motions, right? And your concern is with motion number 2. So you will you would still like to amend motion number 2, right? To strike part 2.
Yes, please.
Okay, good. All right, we'll figure that out. Clerk is working on that. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. In the meantime, I'll go to. Are you done, Councillor Principe, with questions?
Yeah. Yes, I am. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tang. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Maybe I'll pick up there just from experience of other municipalities in Alberta. If I understand, the legislation itself is currently undergoing some review and engagement. Is that right? To administration.
Yes, the COPTA regulation is under review. It sunsets at the end of this year. We have been given some information about the changes that are being contemplated. And what I can say is nothing we've been given shows an indication that they are changing direction on policy. It looks as though their amendments and updates to the regulation are confined to sort of administrative pieces as opposed to changing the substance of the regulation.
Right.
If I could just add, Ms. Watt, though, from the the provincial government's affordable housing strategy that was released last year did signal an intent to look at exemptions for nonprofit housing providers from provincial or property taxes. That was one of the action items that was identified in their strategy. And we actually have previous council direction from council to look at an advocacy strategy for just this point, which is why this resolution was included in the letter. On at the March 14, 16, 2022 meeting, council directed us to develop an advocacy strategy to advocate for exemption from both portions of the property tax, so including the provincial portion. And we did come back later in that year in private in an intergov meeting with an advocacy strategy around this. So we have been involved in a number of conversations with the province through various mechanisms, including administrative to administrative meetings and the affordable the task forces that the province has convened as well, where we have been advocating for these changes. And there's been multiple discussions, both within the Municipal Affairs Ministry, but also on the housing side of things through the Ministry of Seniors and Community Services and Social Services.
Yeah, that's a really helpful historical context. So really appreciate that. And given that the Alberta housing strategy has highlighted this is a province-wide issue. And my understanding is there has, in the input that we've provided to the COPTA review, this has been flagged consistently as sort of the gap, and I understand other municipality has as well. Is that your understanding?
So as Ms. Watt mentioned, amongst the assessors provincially, there has been a conversation around interpretation and agreement that there needs to be some clarification for this piece. But then on the housing side of things, which is what I can speak to, I can tell you that the City of Calgary is very much aligned with this approach, and we've been engaging in joint advocacy around this together.
Yeah, and please.
I just want to, as are many of the regional municipalities around Edmonton.
Yeah, I was going to add that as well. I think that's been certainly the conversation. And so this is not just an Edmonton-only problem or a big city problem. And You know what, I will stop there, but I just wanted to kind of note that there has been lots of conversation, to my understanding, and this is a window that is, and what this does then effectively, it sounds like we just kind of help continue to elevate this conversation and keep it really top of mind as a priority, right?
Yeah, Councillor, I would also add that in my experience, the government of Alberta always formally responds to formal motions coming out of Alberta municipalities. And I would say our difficulty so far has been, we're talking, we're sending notes, but we haven't yet seen a formal response other than sort of agreement with this recommendation in the minister's report that was released on the 1st of October, which was good. But yeah, I think it's a good thing to do because we'll get a formal response back to Alberta municipalities.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Tang. So that concludes the questions on this. So the way it will work, if I understand from clerk, is that there'll be three parts to the motion. Part one will be Alberta Municipalities Resolution Changes to the Clean Energy Improvement Program. There'll be one, right? And second part will be Alberta Municipalities Resolution Provincial Support for Affordable Housing and Homelessness, sorry. That will be part two, and then Councillor Principe would like to amend that. And third part will be provincial support for downtowns, business districts, and main streets. Okay, am I right?
Yes, that's right. Sorry, I'm just looking at, yep. So just to confirm, all of the motion, the entire motion is already on the floor.
Yeah.
So, but yes, just wanted to confirm that.
Yeah. So how would amendment take place? Can you?
Just let me get the amendment to Councillor Principe, one moment.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, may I have a chance?
Yeah, go ahead,
to say
Councillor
something?
Principe, go ahead, yeah.
Thank you. For the second resolution, I still do want to support number one of that resolution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
So
what.
I just wanted to clarify, if we could like separate those two as opposed to me making an amendment to it, can we just separate the two items? Is that possible on the resolution?
I think that'll be very difficult to do so because
because
it's part of the bigger all of the motion. So motion needs the motion to going to Alberta municipalities needs to be amended to take out part two, right? So that's what you will move, Councillor Principe, to take out that part two out of it.
Okay, so that's what we'll do. I'm sorry, I'm really complicating this.
No.
Because it is important for me to, okay, so yeah, we'll just make the amendment then to remove part two.
And the clerk is working on the wording for that amendment.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Mayor, I do have the wording now. Can I read it out?
Yeah, please go ahead.
That the motion on the floor, Resolution 2, be amended by deleting point 2.
Okay. Yes, time to see. Okay. And we need a seconder for that?
Before we just go into that, if I
Sorry.
could just ask the city clerk just to jump in, I think we just need some procedural advice.
Okay.
Hi there, Mr. Mayor. So what you have on the floor is actually a motion to approve 5 resolutions.
Yeah.
What I would strongly suggest is that, as has been requested, is that these be dealt with one at a time.
Yeah.
So why don't you just deal with number 1, clear the, if the city clerk or if the clerk can clear the screen downstairs and just deal with number 1. When you get to number 2, the resolution's already been moved on the floor for number 2. Then Councillor Principe can make her amendment to delete part 2. If that passes or fails, we then move back to the motion as amended, and then Council Principe will actually have a chance to vote on either what remains or the original motion if it isn't amended. I hope that helps.
So vote on number 1 first?
Yeah, I think the simplest thing to do right now, you have a motion on the floor to actually pass 5 resolutions.
Yeah.
So it's a motion within itself. So we just do this in parts, we'll actually get to an outcome probably quicker than doing it
Got it.
as an omnibus.
Okay, well, I think that's a good idea. So let's vote on part 1 first then, right? Is everyone okay with that? All right, so please vote on part number 1.
We're just getting that open. Sorry, we're just having an issue with eScribe. Just give us one moment.
Here we go. That the draft resolution in attachment 1 of the May 10th, 2023 Communications and Engagement Report CE01810 be approved for advancement to Alberta municipalities for member consideration at the 2023 annual convention. This would again be moved by Councillor Tang and seconded by Councillor Knack. Right? Okay. All right. So please vote.
Sorry, eScribe is still giving us issues. We can get it up on the screen. We're just trying to get the vote open. Just give us one moment.
Here we go. eScribe is back. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Now we will have attachment 2, moved by Councillor Tang and seconded by Councillor Knack, right? And now at this time, Councillor Principe, you can move your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move that the motion on the floor, Resolution 2, be amended by deleting point 2.
Okay, need a seconder for that?
Second.
Second by Councillor Rice. So we have amendment on the floor. Any questions on the amendment? Or to speak? All right, to speak, question, Councillor Rutherford, please go ahead, question.
Also, on a point of order, I have the back end of eScribe on my thing, so I can add or remove speakers and all of that right now. So just
really?
I've got
so
the power.
Powerful.
Okay, please do not. Thanks for letting us know. We'll take a look at that when we.
No,
also get
Joanne,
our
right?
You got magical powers. Okay. Councillor Rutherford, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm afraid to touch my iPad right now. So I guess I just had a question to the mover. I'm a little bit, I know you asked some questions. I'm just really struggling to understand the concern with regards to, wouldn't we rather have this resolution go in its totality for debate at Alberta municipalities and let other municipalities decide whether this is something that's important to them rather than making that decision prior to that debate with Alberta municipalities?
You know what, I'm not really necessarily doing this on behalf of other municipalities. I just feel that everything I was hearing today was more speaking for Edmonton as opposed to Alberta as a whole. I'm not here to speak for other municipalities, but I still do have some concerns about
I guess for me, I'm confused because the decision before us today is, do we put this resolution to a vote at the AGM, at the meeting, the convention for Alberta municipalities, where then you could make an amendment there to remove this as an example, and then that would be debated with all Alberta municipalities instead of, what I'm concerned about is if we remove it now, does that not remove the intent to have that debate with all municipalities?
I guess other municipalities could add that to the resolution. Is that not possible? If they were so inclined?
If they were aware of that was an amendment to add or delete, yeah. So I guess that's true. So I guess what I'm hearing is the concern is you don't stand by Edmonton, like the reason you're wanting to do this amendment is because you don't think that this reflects what Edmonton being the lead on it, and your concern is that I'm just trying to understand.
No, not exactly. I'm just not certain that all nonprofit affordable housing providers are providing the same level. And I think of affordable housing, and I think that they should not all be lumped together. That is my concern.
Okay, because then in the part there, it also talked about clear definitions of what is affordable, because I agree, that's very ambiguous right now in Copter. But if we delete and we strike out all of point 2, then we delete that clear definition. No? I'm really trying to understand. I'm just trying to understand where you're coming from so I can understand for like,
yeah.
Because I think that, I really respect and appreciate you're flagging something. I'm just trying to make sure I completely understand what you're flagging, and I'm not sure I do quite yet.
Yeah, I guess, my concern is just all nonprofit affordable housing providers being lumped together, providing the same, where I think that there are different.
Yeah, okay.
I think there are different levels of affordability that's being provided by different providers.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Okay, I think I get a better picture, and I don't have any further questions.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Principe, you have questions on the amendment, or?
No,
okay,
I
got
don't.
it. Councillor Wright, go ahead, please.
No questions, just to speak.
Okay, Councillor Stevenson to speak as well? Go ahead, if you have questions, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Just to the mover, to Councillor Principe. So thanks for the responses that you provide to Councillor Rutherford. So would there be any greater comfort if the language was changed to say exempt nonprofit affordable housing providers, recognizing that the subsequent, like the second part of that sentence is around establishing the clear definition? Is it really just around the all that you're concerned?
That's a very good point, because I did see that as they were contradicting the sentence, the first part of the sentence and the last part of the sentence, because it says all nonprofit affordable housing providers. So that might help. Actually, that could help.
Because I understand that I think that what I'm hearing from you is not necessarily a sense that you don't want affordable housing providers to benefit from property tax exemption. You just want to ensure that those that are benefiting from that exemption are, again, meeting those charitable and benevolent purposes. Is that?
Exactly. That's right. Yeah.
And to be honest, that's my reading of how it is set out right now, that second part is really operative, that it's establishing that clear definition. If removing all would give you the comfort to support that, maybe it's just a narrower amendment that you may want to put forward.
If it were reworded, maybe more so than just removing all, but that.
Okay, so then
I have a feeling. I have a feeling that this is not, the amendment will not pass, anyways.
Okay. No, thanks. I appreciate that. No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stevenson, Councillor Tang.
Yeah, just so to administration, recognizing that a resolution like this includes the background, the preamble, that kind of applies to both parts. What's the implication of removing that second part? Do you have to go back and rewrite the whole briefing? Take out all the parts that's relevant to that? If it passes, I mean?
Yeah, we will have to look at the entire resolution, the background, like the supporting background as well, to make sure that there is alignment and the intent is still there as intended. And so, yeah, we'll need time. I'm not sure we can do that right here in this moment.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. And then I guess to the mover then, I just want to make sure that we're clear on the process here. Like, so I just wanted to make sure, like, my understanding that, we're not talking about automatic, like, this, also this is an advocacy. If the legislation changes to allow for affordable housing, we're not talking about automatic process that they would just be exempted. There's still a process of due diligence, of application, of review. So is that your understanding as well?
Yes, I understand that, yes.
Okay, great. I'm good, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tang. Councillor Rice.
Thank you, Mayor Sohi. So I just have one question. If this part 2 was related here, and then when moved to the meeting, Alberta Municipalities meeting or conference, is a councillor, as an individual councillor, can say we can add this back, or we have to be act as the municipality level to say we add this back. So I just want to get that clarification.
So if I understand the question correctly, during the Alberta Municipalities Convention, the resolution session, different municipalities can come up to speak or to a resolution for or against, or also to amend, request amendments to the resolution. So sometimes amendments on the floor can be considered friendly. They will, the municipality requesting the amendments will look to the sponsoring municipality, which will be us in this case, as well as the secondary municipality, to determine whether we consider their request a friendly request, and then go from there. So it depends on the scope and the intent at that point.
But there is no opportunity for the individual councillor say, I would like to add this back. I just want to get that confirmation.
So it will be individuals, so councillor or mayor representing a municipality, that will go up to speak. But I think the question will come back to City of Edmonton as the sponsor in this case, assuming it goes that far to the resolution, will be asked if we consider it a friendly amendment, and so we'll have to make a quick decision on the floor.
So that means, and then that is not about the individual councillor during meeting say this, it's just a representative for our council who can make amendment during the meeting, then bring us back to the municipality level to discuss again.
Can you?
I think what I heard from what I heard here is yes, any municipality could provide the amendments and during meeting, but is not individual councillor from this municipality. It's just the representative or board director or mayor can do that.
No, any councillor or council member from a member municipality of Alberta municipalities can come to the floor at the resolutions floor, is my understanding.
Okay, I understand now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Rice. Okay, now to speak. All right, Councillor Wright, go ahead, please.
Sorry, point of order.
Sorry, Councillor Principe.
Mr. Mayor, I'm very sorry. I said I didn't have anything to say, and I'm very sorry for making this complicated.
No.
I am willing to take withdraw my amendment.
Okay.
But then I would request that we remove the word all from the sentence.
Yeah. That doesn't change the intent of the resolution, right? Does it? Let me get it, sir. To administration, if the word all is removed, does that change the intent of the resolution?
Yeah, I think it should be fine. I may also want to confirm from Ms. Watt as assessor if she has any concerns there, but I think it's fine.
I have no concerns. What would likely happen is the government of Alberta will be responding to the resolution, and if they take action on it, they will be reaching out to all stakeholders for input. So there's still much time for the wording to be amended and tweaked.
Got it. Okay. So the intent doesn't changes by removing the word all. And Councillor Paquette, you have questions?
No, just to speak.
Just to, but Councillor...
Unless it's withdrawn. I don't know where
Councillor Principe is going to withdraw her amendment if the word all is removed from the original, and if everyone feels is friendly to remove all. Okay, Councillor Rutherford.
Okay.
Councillor
Rutherford. I don't think it's friendly.
So Councillor Rutherford and Councillor Paquette feel...
That's unfriendly.
Okay, this
Yeah,
is not
that's
friendly.
same with me.
So it's not
Councillor,
friendly
it's
then.
okay.
It's not friendly then. Might as well move on the amendment, Councillor Principe, okay?
Yeah, okay, that sounds
Got
good.
it. Okay, now, Councillor Paquette, you have questions on the amendment as proposed by Councillor Principe.
I believe Ms. Watt just answered it, but I'll just ask again. So this goes from here, it goes to Alberta municipalities, could be tweaked there, may not. But when it gets to the province, that's when the legal work begins, and that's when they determine what that's going to look like. Is that right? All is just sort of a term that we're using, but when it comes to legislation, that may not be what happens whatsoever. Maybe, but it might not, and that's really up to the province.
Yeah, I'll just step in here, Councillor Andre, and just say yes. And the other thing is we'll get a formal reply from the province, and in that formal reply, we'll see what kind of words are used as well. So.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, let's let the lawyers do the legal work. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Paquette. So that concludes the questions. Now to speak. Councillor Wright, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I can't vote in support of removing this portion. I think it provides the clarity and the consistency that we need across the province, which is something that has also been echoed at the Intercity Forum on Social Policy Committee, on which I sit or participate in. So I think this is something that is needed. I know there has been some, again, inconsistencies with how Calgary does their exemptions and the way it's interpreted. So by having the legislation amended then to provide that clarity, I think will help support all municipalities across Alberta.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Paquette to speak. No? Councillor Rutherford?
Yeah, I felt like I needed to provide a bit of context as to why I did not consider the all friendly, because I think when you look at the process, when you're going to get a response to all the resolutions from the provincial government, they can come back and say, well, we already have exemptions for how, if you take that word out, they can't say the same thing if we have the word all in there. So I think the response can be very different with or without that word all. So I felt like it was very important to provide context about, for me, why I did not consider that friendly. As to, I as well cannot support this amendment. I think it's a crucial point of this resolution, and I think it's better left to, going to Alberta municipalities and having that robust debate on the floor, as is that process. And I am proud of the resolution that we're putting on as in its full totality, and so I can't support this amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Stevenson.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the conversation, and I also will not be supporting the amendment. I think whenever we're providing tax property tax exemptions. We need to be really judicious with that, but the value and savings that affordable housing provides to us is immense, and it's a very reasonable investment for us to make. And I think the current legislation as it stands creates some very unfortunate unintended consequences that detract from our ability to serve our communities as best as we can. And I think rather than us having come up with our own solution to this through the tax rebate program, I think finding a systemic fix that not only provides greater clarity in legislation and across Alberta, also provides the benefit to these affordable housing providers who are providing such critical work in our communities to also be exempt from the education tax. So I see nothing but wins in this. I really appreciate the team for putting it together, and will not be supporting the amendment, but really appreciating it in its totality. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Principe. Councillor Paquette, once again, you're on board. Are you to speak?
No, it's a legacy.
Okay, now Councillor Principe to close.
No, I don't have any comments to close. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, so now we are voting on the amendment to the motion. Please vote.
Councillor Jans, thank you very much. We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. Oh, just hold on. We voted the wrong way. Can you please recall the vote?
We will do that. The vote has been recalled.
All right. Okay, we are voting on the amendment from Councillor Principe. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is defeated. And now we vote on the main motion, which is part attachment 2. Please vote. Oh, sorry. Attachment 2 to...
Point of order. I'm in the meeting and I've been excluded from voting. So
oh, you have been?
I don't know what's happening.
Just hold on. We'll check. Here. We'll check, Councillor Hamilton.
Thanks.
Can you please check?
One moment. Apologies. That was likely the Office of the City Clerk's error. We didn't see that you were back in the meeting. Apologies, Councillor Hamilton.
Can we recall the vote, please? Or can you record Councillor Hamilton's vote?
We can, I think what I would suggest is recalling.
Okay, recall the vote then, please. Okay, recall the vote.
I didn't do anything, I swear.
Yeah, we are recalling the vote on the amendment to Councillor Tang's motion. No, yeah, amendment made by Councillor Principe to your motion. Yeah.
It is taking a moment to load. Just give us a moment. We're just going to refresh to see if we can get eScribe to respond.
Yeah, no problem. Here we go. So we're voting now on amendment to the motion, amendment proposed by Councillor Principe. Okay? All right. I will now ask for people, colleagues to vote. Please vote. We're voting now, okay?
On the amendment.
Yeah, on the amendment, yeah. We're
just waiting on 3 votes. And it's possible that the vote's not showing up for some. Councillor Jans and Councillor Rice, is it showing up for you?
Oh, no, it doesn't.
It's not showing up for you?
Yeah, it doesn't show up on my screen.
Okay, can we record your vote verbally, Councillor
Yeah,
Rice?
I'm yes for the amendment.
Yes, okay, thank you. We have all the votes?
Display the votes, please. Okay, that is defeated. Okay. Councillor Jans. I just want to make sure you voted your intent on amendment.
I didn't, but it doesn't matter. Let's move on.
Okay. Can we just correct the record, please?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Can I just confirm Councillor Jans would like, we would need to recall the vote?
No, I'm fine. Let it stand. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, all right. Yes, that's your wish. Okay. All right, now we are voting on the main motion. Motion moved by Councillor Tang, seconded by Councillor Knack on the resolution resolution 2. Please vote. And Councillor...
Point of order.
No, sorry, Councillor Principe and Councillor Tang want to speak to this. Councillor Principe, go ahead, please.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cause a large issue here. I will be supporting this motion now, even though the amendment didn't pass. I still have those concerns, but I think there is a greater good here that I still would like to see passed, so I will be voting in favor.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Principe. Councillor Stevenson to speak? No? Councillor Tang to close?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you for that. So this is this is an issue that I've actually struggled with quite some time. I think every time the grant exemption program came forward as a report, I always kind of ask, where is the greater clarity for affordable housing property taxes? And I know Councillor Stevenson had had a lot of back and forth, just so that I can better understand where the challenge has been. I recall the last time this came up at council, we've heard from so many speakers about the importance of, or, what would it mean if their property tax were exempt? What would it mean for creating new units, for renovating units to improve people's quality of life? What this means for achieving our city's overall housing goals? And I think when I kind of dove a little bit deeper into the copter legislation, I recognize how muddy the water is. There is a lot more greater clarity for sort of general not-for-profits, such as Chamber of Commerce, for example, to get property tax. But when it comes to affordable housing, it is extremely open to interpretation. The inconsistency is something I've heard, even at some of the regional and tables from other municipalities. And I think as housing becomes a bigger and bigger issue across the province, and as more municipalities are seeing more units being created, I can only imagine the positive impact something like this will have. Indeed, as Councillor Principe mentioned, there is strength in number when it comes to advocacy, and I think this particular resolution and that part 2, I think, is really at the core of this. It prevents that inconsistent, very open interpretation that creates inequity. I think this helps to reduce red tape. And at the end of the day, this is good policy making. If we achieve what we need to achieve with this resolution, that will have much bigger impact, not just for the big cities, but for everyone across the province. So I really appreciate the staff administration for putting this together, and I encourage everyone's support on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tang. Please vote.
We We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Now we will vote on attachment 3 and attachment 4. Okay,
We also have attachment 5.
there's attachment 5 too. Which one is?
That was the addition with the summary of agenda changes.
Okay, so attachment 3, 4, and 5 we are voting on together. Okay, please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Okay, so we concluded 5.1. Anything else on 5.1, right? Then we have one in camera, 7.1. Can someone move that we go into private, please?
So moved.
Councillor Stevenson, need a seconder?
Second.
Councillor Wright? Okay, please vote.
Councillor Paquette, is the vote coming up for you to go into private? Thank you. We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. We'll go, maybe go 5 minutes to
We are back live in council chamber. We are just checking the doors. We are live from council chamber.
All right, we are back in public. Councillor Rutherford.
Yeah, I would like to move that council receive item 7.1, CEO 1891, intergovernmental update, verbal report for information.
Okay. Need a seconder, Councillor Tang?
Second.
Okay, all right. All right, we have a motion on the floor. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Okay, motions pending none. Notes of motions and motions without customary notice. Seeing none, we are adjourned at 3:19.